So in the chat, I'd love for you to put down if you've used any of the new resources tools on the back end of the website. Have you used the new playbook to maybe have a team meeting? Have you looked at any of the social media graphics? Oh yeah, Jessica's already on it. I want to know what's working and what's not working. So I'd love to know if those resources have been helpful. So if you were on 1MC 2020 Summit, we released our new playbook. Our new organizer training has been going on all this year. We released graphics. We did a 1MC PowerPoint on Wednesday mornings. I don't know if anyone's used that yet, but it's awesome. So, okay, it's blowing up. Graphics, graphics, graphics. Logos, it's huge, yes, and the playbook. Good, okay, good. I'm glad to hear that. There is like 2 different sets of logos too in there. If you didn't know, you have your community logo, which is typically the circle and it actually has your community branded on it. And then you've got the entire suite of the 1MC logos, which is awesome. And as we move towards core and having all of the communities on core, it's really important that our branding is also on point with our messaging. Oh, hey, is it Deanna? Dina?
Hey, it's Deanna. Nice to meet everyone.
Welcome. New organizer in the Southeast. That's huge. Round of applause.
I'll be doing this with Melody Herman. So she's not able to make it today, but it's nice to meet everyone. Hi.
Did you just email me?
Maybe? I did, because
okay.
I'm actually having tech problems getting into the site. So I haven't been able to play around with everything yet, but I'll check it out for sure.
Well, I'll get back on that. Hey, Southeast, one other thing. Why don't we drop in the chat, maybe for our newest organizer, what the best learning has been, or the best tip that you have for her as she organizers. Give it a thought. I see Tim over here like thinking, drop it in the chat for her. So I'm gonna kick it off. I'm gonna go over our new organizer tools on the resources page, especially for the newest and the oldest organizer. This may or may not help. And then we'll get into some 2021 stuff. Okay. So on the back end of the website, a lot of things were updated. The very, very first thing is, if you didn't know this, we do have a customer service phone number, which is really neat. So I know that we've been working out bugs with the 1MC website. Passwords maybe aren't working. If your website, like the scheduling tab is not working, let the customer service line know. They are a typical Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and I'm still here for all of you. But if you didn't know, we finally are getting the support that we need. So we have a full customer service team number. All of you know that I am your regional rep, although there are other reps in the regions. So if you ever want to follow them, talk to them, all of their contact emails and information's up top. Okay, so everybody either loves or hates Slack, so I will bring up the Slack guide. It is your best friend to accessing the entire team of organizers across the country. So I'm not just talking about the Southeast, I'm talking about across the US. This Slack guide we designed to make it easy to navigate on how to use 1MC Slack, all the way from making sure that your username is your city name and first name, and then we try to make it easy for people to understand how do you private message people, how do you send chats in different channels that are relevant to those topics. There's a lot of advantages to Slack. It can ping you instantly. You can have the mobile app on your phone. You can have the desktop app on your computer. I know it's a heavy lift, but looking at 2021, I will share throughout this call the goals for Southeast, and one of those is to utilize Slack. So if you all start having questions about how to market your events, how to get more presenters in your pipeline, leverage each other. You all are organizing, going through the same struggle every single day, and it's across the country. So, you know, share in Slack, tag people, and ask for help in there, as that is your resource. The organizer playbook, like we said, is brand spanking new. It's massive, which is great, but the newest organizer and the oldest organizer should definitely take a minute to go through this. If you have a team meeting coming up at least before the end of the year, or even kicking it off next year, I highly recommend going through this playbook. And one of the things I want to point out is this snapshot. And I don't want to scare all of you, but a lot of times people don't know kind of what they're in for when it comes to organizing. You all are volunteers, giving of your time. It's a lot to ask of you all. But 1MC is a time commitment. We have our weekly 1 hour 1MC, which typically means a setup and a breakdown after, or hanging out on the Zoom calls. We do have organizer duties, like you all know, of emceeing, coaching, marketing, scheduling the presenters on the back end. And so that takes up a lot of time, right? And if you all have team calls, then typically that's an hour a week, maybe it's an hour a month. I don't know what that looks like for your team, but know that there is kind of a dedication to it. And we try to make it easy to break down all of the organizer roles. So as you start building a team and inviting new organizers for your team for 2021, make sure you have at least maybe 3 people per role. So not one person you're relying on to do the coaching. And if someone gets sick or someone wants to go on vacation, there's kind of coverage in all areas. And one of the things I've been talking to a lot of different communities in the Southeast about is switch up these roles. If you've got a team member who's never coached before, ask them if they want to coach, or ask your whole team, hey, does anyone want to coach, and learn how to do it. One of the things as organizers is we probably are all about learning new things, right? So how often are we switching roles and giving people the opportunity to learn how to coach, how to MC, how to do marketing? So look through those roles for sure. And so when you're starting out, this is simple, I won't open these, but the 1MC brand guidelines sets the tone for the license of how to use the Kaufman logo, the 1MC logo, everything like that. I know the chat is probably blowing up and I am not checking it too much, but this stuff is really important, especially the 1MC culture. And when you have new organizers roll on and off, look at the organizer succession onboarding checklist. So if you have a new organizer coming on, you could sit down with another organizer and go through that checklist. And it's great for transitioning if you have lead organizer roles. I think a couple of communities in the Southeast are transitioning leads coming up here soon. Okay, if you haven't attended an organizer training in 2021, get it? Nobody has. I highly recommend coming to one of the organizer onboardings kicking off in January. Or if you haven't attended this year's, they are the same content, but there's something to be pulled out, I think, each time you attend. But definitely attend at least once a year if you can. Really easy to click sign up here, and it takes you to the form to sign up. There's 2 dates, one in January and one in February. So you're going to hear from the regional reps, from headquarters, what it means to be an organizer, how to use the tools that we provide you, like I'm showing you here today. But there's a lot to organizing, and this will kind of help get everybody on the same page. And my favorite document is our Wednesday morning PowerPoint. I wonder who all's used this. I know you were chatting it up about social graphics, but I want to pull this up. Most of you are virtual, I believe, but if you ever go back in person, this is a great tool to use for that as well. But every Wednesday morning, if you want to customize this PowerPoint to you and to your community, you can do that. And you could either have it on a loop when people are entering the Zoom room, or you could have it as a presentation kind of before your actual presentations kick off. So what this is it goes over your team. You would change this to 1MC in your community name with all of your organizers on board. It goes over about Kaufman as well as the 1MC missions. We have a national mission, a local mission, and if you didn't know, boom, the Southeast is huge, y'all, huge. And your entrepreneurs have the ability to present in any of these communities. They could they could present in any of the communities across the United States, but leverage each other because we are so close in communities. And right now traveling is $0 because we're virtual, most of us, right? So just letting you know that this is something you could show your community of the power of how many 1MC communities there are. We do have the key pillars, which I know you hear me harp on all day and all night, so I won't even read them, just know they're on here. Our core formats on here as well. And then you can go through how to apply to present. So a lot of times new people in the room or people that just don't know even how to get a presenter on board will need to know how to go and present in your community. You know, the process is applying to present, and it's a drop-down menu to find the community you're in. So if your community is not as clear as like Orlando, it might be an outlier city, let them know, hey, this is our community name, so this is how you apply. And from there, you can drop in all sorts of details about today's presenters, your social media handles, and upcoming community events. So this can kind of be done before every 1MC, and it's just a good reminder for your attendees about what 1MC is. All right, so I've said way too much so far. I'm gonna take a quick break real quick and I'll go back. What questions, you can mute yourself or unmute yourself if you want, drop them in the chat. What questions do you have so far on the new tools and that kind of thing?
Lindsay, I have a question.
Yes.
The 1-800 number that you showed, is that only for sort of technical questions like with the website and the app, or is that sort of a direct line to 1MC National, or what's or exactly?
So that could be used for anything unrelated to tech as well. It's our customer support team. So what their goal is that if they can't answer the question, it gets routed to headquarters or to one of the regional rep people. I'll show you real quick to you, Ryan. This is similar. A lot of people don't know this. When you're on the 1millioncups.com website, do you see this little chat bubble down here? If you click on it, this is actually your help. So if you wanted to send someone a message, if you're like, hey, I can't log in. Hey, my applications aren't moving to approved. Hey, I can't finalize this. There's a lot going on. But if you just click send us a message and start typing, they will eventually get back to you. They'll kick an email over to headquarters. They'll kick an email over to your rep. And typically they respond pretty quickly. They are that 8 to 5. That's a great question though. So you have the help icon, the 1-800 number, and you have me. So all the things. Good question.
Hey, Kenzie, I've got a question. So you mentioned all of the many opportunities that companies have to present in each of our different areas, I mean, throughout the Southeast and across the country. So that's great in one sense. In another sense, it makes it really easy for companies who are trying to do nothing other than promote their product or service to find a forum where they can just go one week after another and promote their product.
Right.
So one thing that I'm going to ask as a suggestion or make a suggestion is if the website could include the question, the core question, what can we as a community do to help you as part of the application process, then at least we know if they apply and what they want to do is spread the word, okay, that's a red flag. If they apply and they say, we really want help understanding how to blah, 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 then that gives a whole different kind of reaction from our application processing team.
So we are looking at that and probably won't roll it out till next year. So that's not something we can add overnight and not something quickly, but you are correct. So great point. So what George is saying is that when you see a community that has applied and spammed the universe, right? You see applied, 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 and you can actually see where all they've applied. Give them the tough love and give them the education though that they need. So you could say, hey, we see you apply to a bunch of communities. What are you looking to get out of our community specifically? You could ask them that final question if you want to, but also ask them to attend your weekly event specifically first. So require them to come into your community, be an attendee, be a participant, and get that kind of knowledge of how your community operates first. And with virtual, there's no excuses, right? They can hop on a Zoom call a week before and the week after. And then afterwards, you don't even have to schedule them as a presenter until they come as an attendee, right? It's kind of like their homework. So after that, I would have you ask that question. What are you looking to get out of it? And it just says sales, exposure, leads, what have you. Educate them. Don't just deny them. These entrepreneurs have probably sometimes only heard of 1 Million Cups once in passing, where they just found us. They don't know what 1MC is yet. So you say, hey, this is a place where we don't bring business cards in. We're not asking for sales, customers, investments. We're here to learn. And our community is going to ask you tough questions, give you feedback, maybe make a connection for you, but that's not the sole purpose of 1MC. We're here to really help you learn what you don't know. So it's a great point. Don't just deny because you see that. But yeah, ask them the tough questions and we'll work on the application stuff in 2021. Questions? Any other questions before I keep going?
Well, I just want to tack on to what you were just saying. We've had people who have come to our city that have been presenting in other cities. And one of the things that they say is that every city is different and they get different advice or different things they hadn't thought of from each city. So even if their thought process is to get the word out, which is marketing, I mean, that is part of the problem a lot of cities or a lot of companies have. It is a good opportunity because regions are different, cities are different, and audiences are different. So sometimes they can add things that they didn't know was going to be brought to their attention.
Right. And I'll challenge you this too. The other thing that's helpful in your Zoom calls for presenters and your audiences, ask people to be on video so you can still get the body language and the feedback, and even turn your Zoom on maybe a couple minutes before or stay on after and still have those connection points, because that's what we're missing, right? We just zoom in, we're zooming in, we're zooming out, we're done. No, we still are people. We want to connect and we want to catch up. That's why we're talking about stuff at the beginning of the call, right? So one of the things, and I see all you people not on video, I'll just call you out and just say, it doesn't help me if I can't see if you're laughing, if you're frowning, if you're shaking your head. There we go, Tim Shigrela, there we go. I know it's painful. So entrepreneurs are missing that, right? I can't get any feedback without that right there. And how can you make Zoom fun? You could add in polls to your Zoom meetings, and it could be silly polls and it could be serious polls. You could have maybe an icebreaker or something if it's a smaller group. I know when we have these big calls, we don't get a lot of that individual time because there's so many people on the call, but there's ways to make Zoom fun. So anyway, I was eating. Shigrela, I've eaten on every single one of my calls, and half y'all know that. I just don't care anymore. Okay, I'm gonna go back into our tools, and then we'll get over to the 2021 stuff I want to talk about. Okay, so towards the bottom is what we were talking about at the beginning. If you haven't seen this, we have all of these new social media graphics for Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We size them all for you to easily click, download, and keep that for you to post on social media. But the first step is to look at the instructions, because we've even written the copy out for you. So now all you have to do is copy the text, drop in your custom community information, and then you can download the image that goes with it. So we're trying to make this as easy as possible for communities to be able to market their event and share their event. I'm not sure about you all, but where I live, we have a visitcity.com where I can actually upload my events for 1MC. So I could actually have my community share the word about 1MC on their calendars. If you have any partnerships like that in your community, it's a great idea to ask them, hey, can you put 1 million cups on your community events calendar? Can you include this in your email newsletter? The more that we can let the community know that this is a free, inclusive place, safe place for entrepreneurs to come, the better it'll be. And one of your goals for 2021, and I'll talk about this towards the end of the call too, is having your community understand 1 million cups as much as you do. And hopefully, you know, or as much as, you know, 1MC is known, I guess the culture, the knowledge like that I have, I want you all to have that, and I want you to be able to pass it down. Because at the end of the day, similar to branding, when your customers or your attendees can repeat what 1MC is, what the value proposition is, you've won, because they're now your brand ambassadors. They get it, they love it, and they're gonna share it. So these graphics are really helpful for you all. And we also made banner graphics. So if you wanted to customize your headers as well with your sponsors, we made these graphics so that way you can customize them for each of your communities. So when you download them, you can upload all the logos of your sponsors and make that your banner across all the social medias. Just so you know, the swag for 1MC will be updated in January. So if you're out of swag, have credits left, use those up if you need to, but just know they re-up in January. And then last but not least, just if you have password issues, most of your passwords that were set up for your community when you launched, if you have issues getting into an account, it might be because someone changed the password. We don't have access to Twitter, but we can reset your 1MC swag account, your Gmail account, and those kind of things. So hopefully that helps there. And any questions until I go into town hall?
Yeah, I've got a question that for you, Kenzie, and probably for the other organizers too. We haven't met in person since March. We have a closet full of swag. Nothing has gone in, and hopefully nothing has come out since then.
Right.
Because handing a coffee mug to someone is kind of hard to do, and sending it in the mail is logistically difficult, not to mention there's a cost involved in it.
Sure.
What have other people done about swag since COVID?
Anybody want to share?
We are actually meeting in person, so that's not an issue, but that's a no-brainer. So, and I'm running a hybrid meeting, so we got about half at the location and half on Zoom. And so we've been able to do swag, and we've been able to, also our coffee sponsor does swag as well.
if George, I don't know if there would be a partner or a sponsorship, if you found someone, even UPS, you know, that could help like maybe pay for that, that could be a sponsorship, but that's a big ask for sure. So, I mean, here's, and John probably already is scheduling this, and John's a little rogue at times, but if you ever have like an end of the year 1MC celebration and a holiday party, we're being inclusive. We're not talking about certain like religions or that kind of thing, but you know, maybe it's a coffee meetup, it's a dinner meetup or drinks thing. Maybe that's where you bring your swag and kind of just give it away or have everyone take something. That could be something you do. John, are you still having that end of the year thing that you normally have?
Yes, we call it the unofficial 1 million pints.
Yeah, he's super rogue, so we're going to ignore that.
Well, we make sure to say that it is not sanctioned by nor sponsored by 1 Million Cups. It's just our the location we actually meet is called Frothy Beard. They're a brewery. So we go there to, in a sense, pay them back for being our sponsor. For
Kenzie, one man's rogue is another man's creativity.
I know. I just have
I'm
to
just
plug
saying.
my ears on the Kaufman level, you know? So, yeah, George, if you can't get swag out, it's not the end of the world, right? If we still don't want to feel safe or comfortable going out, that's okay. Hang on to it. You know, if you have someone that could offset the cost or sponsor the cost, like a co-working space or a venue or, yeah, I mean, a local print store or something like that, that could be handy. If anyone has anything else, drop it in the chat or let us know. You can unmute and share. Okay. If you're on video, so like the two of you, raise your hand if you've hosted a town hall. One. Ryan's not sure. I see Jonathan. Jonathan, you want to share what you did and how it went?
Sure. Let me go back into my memory bank. So this would have been probably fall of 2018. We did something toward the end of the year, and we called it like a town hall where we basically collaborated with the entire community, almost like a live whiteboard session. So we did, hey, we want to know what has been amazing this year for 1 Million Cups. What are the things that you've loved? And then how do we dream about the future? And so it really got people energized. There was probably 30 people in the room. I had a guy facilitating with me, helping me. And then we just really just took all the ideas and no questions asked. We just dumped them out on whiteboards and talked about what's worked and how to dream about the future. And it worked out really well. People really responded well to it. And we're actually doing that again December 2nd for one of our finals of the year. Yeah.
Saw that. That's perfect. Okay, cool. So what Jonathan's talking about, and I'll share as well, we have resources around this if you've never heard of this or it's like a new concept. And ask Jonathan on Slack if you need help. You're now the resource, bud. But okay, on the back end of the website, we have this town hall guide under core materials. So we made this entire document for you all to understand what is it, when do you have it. It should be in your playbook as well, but this is what this document looks like. So when do they make sense? Right now, probably rolling off into the end of 2020 or maybe launching with 2021 is maybe a good idea. It might not be, but if you are trying to figure out what to plan to kick off the year, this would be a great thing. A town hall is just an open discussion with your local 1MC community where you discuss the local value proposition of 1MC, the core pillars that we talk about, and your chapter's connection to 1MC Nation. So what we're doing here is we're asking the community for help, right? So similar when we ask them, what can we as a community do for you? What can our 1MC do for our community? What's working, what's not? Is the value proposition there? So you can actually present 1MC to the community itself. So you can use a 6-minute presentation slot and present it, and then have that 20-minute discussion. Or you can host a 5 to 10-minute check-in with your community at the beginning of a 1MC. So it's kind of your level of if you need a town hall and a big ask or a heavy lift, or if you just need a refresher from the community of what they see the value of 1MC is, if you've got a healthy pipeline, you know, that kind of thing. Jonathan, I see your hand. Give me a second. So these are kind of the format ideas. And it talks about when you should hold the 5-minute versus when you should hold the deep dive. So what do I mean by the deep dive? If we're kicking off the beginning of the year, we take what we learned from Summit, we talk about all of the core programs, and if you're thinking in the back of your head too right now, we're not core, we've got to go and get 2 presenters, or we've got to go weekly, or whatever that piece is missing. That's what you ask of your community. Hey, we've got to go weekly. Will you show up every week? Or, hey, we need help getting 2 presenters. What does that look like? Your community is what owns 1MC. It's run by the community for the community. So use them to help you fuel pipeline, or to help you find organizers, or whatever you're needing right now as a community. Use your community for help. And all of these materials we talk about in the back end, the core PowerPoint, the core 1 pages, as Jonathan said, a whiteboard for ideas and feedback. And we have the 2-minute video for 1MC. All of these materials were built for you all to make it as easy as possible. Jonathan, take it away.
Yeah, sorry, Kinsey. So what, like, can you distill down, like, when you say a 5-minute check-in, what's an example? Like, is there a set of questions, or is there an aim you're trying to get from the community?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, I mean, this is more of, you notice that there's new individuals coming maybe, and you want to do a quick, like, hey, if you didn't know, this is what 1MC is, because if we're not educating them weekly, we can forget that there's new people in the room. Do they know where to apply? Do they know what 1MC is, or do they know the core pillars? If there's turnover in leadership too, so when we see communities that have less and less organizers, they typically dissipate, right? They don't have the support and the help. So you could say, hey, does anyone in the room want to help out organizing? We're kind of struggling here. It's really just a quick, simple thing of like, hey, is this still valuable? What have you? So it's not this deep dive of an issue. It's just like, hey, here's some updates, or here's what we learned from Summit, or here's a new tool that we have that we wanted to just show you all. So that's more of a quick update where you've got a healthy community that already gets it, that might just need a couple of updates.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Nice, John, nice. Looking at the chat here. Any other questions on town hall? And has anyone thought about planning one now for maybe the end of the year, or January, February? Would this be something that your community would use? I saw Thomas Hall, you raised your hand. Now you got to talk.
Oh, it's Tom here and Cheryl, but we're a duo. We're with Robinson County, so not too far away from you, George, and the Fayetteville group. And nice to be here. But I had never heard of a town hall, but I think I have the gist of it. And we're pretty much shut down until the end of January, so probably February we're going to try to do something. Good idea.
So are you thinking of using it for when you're back in person? You're saying you're not doing like a hybrid or online, right?
Yeah, no, definitely in person. And we've done 2 pretty big events, about 80 each, in a huge auditorium that holds 3,000, really spread out. So we've done 2 of those events. We have done no virtual events because we just don't have good experience with virtual events. We've done 2 live events, and we'll start it up again in February. And then I think we'll do a town hall then. Hopefully things calm down by then. So we'll be able to do it.
Yeah, and my challenge to you, if it doesn't calm down, it gets worse. How terrible is this Zoom call right now?
Well, to be honest with you, we have done other meetings in Zoom, and they sort of decay real fast. They might do the first one fine, and they just don't last. So we, as a group, have decided just not to run virtual meetings. We just don't. Yeah. I mean, do meetings, we just don't do virtual events.
Yeah, they can be fun if you have interactions or giveaways or polls, or something to give back, or at least have a connection point. I think that's what's missing with a lot of Zoom calls. I try to make these fun, but they're
if it continues, obviously we'll try to do something, because we have to do something, but hopefully it calms down by then.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else planning one now, or thinking about one, or is this new, or is this something that's been on your mind? Who else wants to share? Cool. Okay, Casey?
Yeah, so we've talked about it briefly, our last organizers meeting. We're in transition, so it's a great time, but I think we kind of want to get adjusted. We're monthly right now, just meeting once a month. So we want to switch to weekly and kind of get that under our belt. So maybe after we've done that in the first part of next year, we definitely think a town hall would be beneficial. So we are thinking about it and talking about it. We just haven't planned it yet.
Awesome. What would be your ask of your community, or something that you need help with?
I definitely think our pipeline is always an issue. And what we've talked about, if we move to weekly, not necessarily having 2 presenters, but having 1 presenter and then looking at a past presentation or something else. So if we can do that and get that scheduled after a month or so, I think the ask of the community is, I mean, just what you're saying, that feedback. Is this beneficial? Do we want to keep going in this way? Can we transition to some other setup? Or if we need to do 2 presenters, if that's what people want, then we would definitely want pipeline help and getting that worked out.
Awesome. Yeah, and you'll be surprised at how much a weekly presence and a weekly event will drive pipeline, because there's more opportunity for entrepreneurs to come and present. So it's fearful when you don't have it lined up now, but once you're in it, it's a lot easier. Okay, cool. Anybody else want to share?
One option that we have talked about in the past, and we have done it in the past, is do a 15-minute educational component where, you know, one time I led something last year on effective writing tips. And so instead of doing 6 minutes and 20 minutes of questions, I just did 15 or 20 minutes of a presentation. And it was a fill-in that I was able to do because we had somebody cancel on us Wednesday morning, and they said, do we have anybody who could do anything? And I said, yes, I could do a thing. And so I did my thing. So
one of the things I think Cindy mentioned at the beginning too, and that could help too, is Cindy, you were talking about you always have a backup plan in case of something falls through. So when we think about backups too, we still want to make sure that we're in that core parameters that 1MC has a business, or that someone has a business less than 5 years old, they're willing to ask for help. And did you know that on the day of, if you don't have a presenter lined up or a second presenter, you could ask your community right then and there on the spot, hey, does anyone want to present their idea? We've got a slot open, and you can just share your 6 minutes of your journey or your story. I've had that happen a lot, where people just get up, stand up, present on the spot, or you can just make it a connection time. You don't necessarily need to have a PowerPoint or a presentation. That could be something that's separate from 1MC if you're doing something maybe after 1MC if people want to hang on. But yeah, I mean, make sure that you're still having your community coffee and celebrate wins, or talk about, goals or things that people, you still have people, right, that are business owners or entrepreneurs or even employees that are just trying to make it through their day. So it's always fun to have something planned in case of an emergency. Cindy, do you want to share anything on that, or Ben?
We've done some of the things that you've mentioned. Joan just mentioned about an education piece. We've done that. We've made use of the Kaufman videos before to just, to show a clip of that and discuss it. We've done the connections, because we're not going to use the word networking. No. It's connections. But one of the things that we do, which is, I know we'll get my hands smacked, it always does, but it is, you have to sometimes do what your community wants. And that is, they only want 1 presenter a week because they want to focus and really dig deep. And they get upset if we cut them off. So we learn not to alienate our audience. But what we do for the last 15, 20 minutes of that time also is anybody got an event coming up, or something that, like you said, they're celebrating, or they know of a group that needs some help. We've had nonprofits use that time to mention upcoming events. We always keep something educational in the back of my pocket, so that you can always pull that out. But sometimes you do get somebody who will get up and present their business on the fly. You just have to have 2 or 3 options available, because you just never know. They're supposed to be there. They email you, hey, I'm on my way, and then you don't see them.
Yes. I won't slap your hands, but yeah, I mean, you can make that definitely separate from 1MC like you have, and knowing your audience of what they need. Maybe you start doing something outside of 1MC where it is those educational pieces, because they are wanting to learn, and that could be part of maybe your growth for your community. But yeah, so Ben, did you want to share anything on that? You unmuted.
Yeah, what up, 1MC Southeast? Good to see everyone. So many familiar faces. We are all one now. This is beautiful. Yeah, I mean, the fact is, consistency is the magic sauce. So never cancel. But you have people and variables that provide complexity when they cancel. And so having those backup plans is a nice way to avoid kind of the toxicity of even canceling a single time. Now that's different than taking off holidays and planned activities like that. But the thing that stuck out, and Eric, I remember us talking about this a little bit. I had a chance to visit 1MC Orlando, and it was a treat. But activating other activities within the ecosystem. Eric, Josh, and I were talking about this as well. Like you have an awards thing that's floating around in your mind, right? But it's not 1 million cups. Like as an example, we fired up DM Startup Drinks. This was a monthly beer flavored networking gathering, fun for entrepreneurs. At 1MC, you were connecting those dots at Startup Drinks. You were connecting it back to the coffee experience. And through that, it activated another group, another little pocket within the ecosystem. And whether that's kind of connecting with existing experiences or activating fresh initiatives, you can build them together without them all being 1MC.
Oh,
Kenzie.
John.
Kenzie, this may be rogue, but we have had people cancel before. And so we did what we call Fifth Wednesday. When a month has a fifth Wednesday in it, we will do this deal where everybody has 30 seconds to say what their name is, what they do to help the world professionally, and what help they may need or who they can connect someone with. And so sometimes we just pivot that way, and it's worked out really, really well because it engages everybody. And because we typically do not self-promote, that's part of the culture, this gives everybody a chance to give a quick, here's what I do.
What up, John? Hey, you get the award lately for the most hyped logo animation work. Man, your weekly videos are so beautiful. Nice job on that front. One of the things that I would suggest taking a peek at is if this is part of your career portfolio and you love like accelerating fellow entrepreneurs, you are probably an ecosystem builder, even if you don't recognize as one. This is a fun new read from Brad Feld and Ian Hathaway. Boy, it is really neat. Pairing that with the Tribes book from Seth Godin, and you've got everything you need to be a community builder. All you do is activate a couple 1MC tactics and we're off on the races.
Awesome.
We've done a couple of things when our pipeline is thin, has been thin. So consistency is key, and sometimes we just don't have a presenter. Fortunately, we've been pretty good recently at getting presenters to show up, knock on wood. But sometimes we just don't have anybody for a particular week. So we've done a couple of things. One is we had a patent attorney come in and talk about intellectual property protection in general, without just a tutorial on protecting your intellectual property as a startup. Maybe a little bit rogue, but at least we had a meeting at 9 o'clock on Wednesday. The other thing we've done is we've done espresso beans. And basically we have a free form where we ask people to give an update on where their business is or what new business ideas do they have. And we get about 30 people. We've been pretty consistent through the year, getting about 30 people every week. And sometimes our host has to go call somebody out by name. But we can easily fill an hour with people just giving 5-minute updates on where their business is, what problems they've run into, what successes they have, or what new ideas they have, which sometimes generates a, hey, you should come and present that to 1 Million Cups.
Sure. One of the things you're talking about though already is a refill. So a lot of people don't know this, but after someone presents in your community 6 months or later, they can come back and present again in your community. And it's called a refill. So how often do we know of entrepreneurs that start a different business, sell that business, innovate that business, right? They're just changing things all the time. So you'll be so surprised. We still want them to present 6 minutes and have the 20 minutes of Q&A, but you'd be surprised at the updates they have or the changes. So make sure that you're still inviting your presenters as attendees for one, and making sure you're inviting them back for a refill and resharing in your community. Yes, Jonathan.
Hey, I was just going to say along those lines, the way we tackle that refill, we do like I don't know what you would call it, a triple espresso shot of refill, maybe. We did a quarterly, we actually got feedback from the community and they wanted us to do this often. So we do like a quarterly Q&A panel, if you will, and we have 3 or 4 of our refill entrepreneurs. And it really, they feed off of each other, kind of like the concept of two presenters, right? So we'll have 3 or 4 refill entrepreneurs from 3 to 6 months before. And it's so cool getting them on a panel and then watching them answer the same question differently about where they are, what they've learned, the wins, the losses. And that's been really successful. We've done that every quarter for 2 years now. So that's how we've done it. I highly recommend it if you guys have not done it.
I love that idea. I mean, you burn through a few extra refills, but that's okay. I mean, look around. There's 25 of us. Everyone share 2 or 3 this week, and you're good till the end of the year. Done. Connected,
Exactly.
my friends. If you're
Mic drop.
if you're virtual, this is so easy.
I will say, I can't imagine if all of you on this call started an entity together, what you could come up with, right? So you've got all these ideas and you're listening to your community of what your community wants. Jonathan, you should do more panel events maybe, and maybe that's something that you look at for 2021. That's not 1MC. I mean, you all are innovating within your community. Maybe your community needs more educational seminars. So when you look back at 2021 too, what other events or what other things that you can incorporate to make your ecosystem stronger for entrepreneurs? At the end of the day too, when you're having hybrid events or you're having virtual events, you're giving entrepreneurs an opportunity to get in front of people, because there's still entrepreneurs out there right now, y'all, that are struggling, that need our help, that need the feedback, and that's what we're here for. So all of this that I'm listening to is extremely powerful. I know we have about 15 minutes left, and I'm going to make...
I did have one other suggestion.
Sure.
Sorry, Kenzie. The one thing that finally started filling up our pipeline was I made not a requirement, but I strongly suggested to the rest of the organizers that they each had to invite 3 people to speak. So, speakers, we want them to attend, but we stuck with this, each of you invite 3 people by email, by phone, somebody you bump into, but you have to invite 3 people. And then I hold them accountable and ask them about it at our board meeting every morning or every Wednesday morning. So, you might think that you're the only one doing it, and you're probably right. So make sure that the other people on the organizing committee are also inviting others.
Eric, that's a good thought. That network effect will burn out though. And so using that to activate momentum, but then feeding the community so that it feels empowered to do that exact same action will fuel the pipeline from people who aren't active organizers. And that's when you start getting applications that you don't recognize. Then it's easy. So great thought there, Eric.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. So looking at 2021, and I might start calling on people because I see all these people off video. Anyways, what is one, maybe your goal for 2021 for your community, or maybe your organizing team? You can put it in the chat. We can unmute in a minute. And I'll share mine really quick so you understand where I'm coming from. One of my goals for the Southeast region is making sure that everyone that's an organizer, not just leads, every organizer, has the same amount of knowledge and information that someone even at Kauffman has, right? All of the information about 1MC, what it is, the core program, how to run it, it's on the back end of the website. And we're here on these calls, we're talking about the core format, we're talking about all of the resources. The newest organizers should be able to say exactly what 1MC is that the longest organizer is, right? So I want you guys, as you're going out in your communities, to think about the knowledge that you need to pass on to the team, to your attendees, to the presenters about what 1MC is. Hopefully that helps. Okay, let's see what's in the chat. 40 people per week for 4 weeks in a row. Cool. It's a good goal. Put numbers on it. Oh, everyone's putting numbers on it. So, John, for pre-COVID, is this attendees virtual, in person, both? Like, what does that look like? You're muted.
Sorry, that was weird. Pre-COVID, we were consistently, but it was in person, 85 to 90 roughly people every week. And when COVID hit, there were a lot of folks that became teachers as well as entrepreneurs to their kids. And so we've lost a lot of folks for that reason. They tell us when school is completely back in, they'll be back. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a struggle. Megan, I love that goal. As we look to get more young businesses to present, what does that look like for you when you're saying young business owners or young business as like they're still in their ideation stage? Do you want to share? I don't know if you can hear me, Megan. If you want to unmute and share, I'd be curious what you mean by that. Okay, moving on. Unmute or put in the chat later if you're ready to talk. Jonathan, you want to share yours about what you mean with diversity on your team? That's very important.
Yeah, sure. So quick plug for the organizing summit that we all did a couple months ago, because on one breakout session, one guy from, I can't remember the chapter, I've got it written down, but he shared a story of how they reached out to a community that they had never reached out to before. It was a Latino Hispanic community in their area. And they reached out to a guy who was an entrepreneur, and he said, basically, I don't speak any English. And they said, oh, well, then we'll get a translator. And so that one tiny idea of having a translator present not only made the Hispanic presenter feel included, but it opened their doors to this entire community of Hispanic entrepreneurs. And it blew my mind. So when I say diversity in our area, I'm thinking of age diversity, I'm thinking of ethnicity, but also the special needs community. We've got 30,000 special needs people in our community, and several of them have amazing ideas and are budding entrepreneurs. So that's what I mean when I say diversity, and I'd love to see that reflected in our presenters as well as our team.
That was perfect. Yeah, a lot of times presenters won't see that in the team, and they won't know if they're welcome to present, or if they can't relate to someone who's never been up on the presenter stage, they won't know that that could be them. Right. And that's one of the things on like educating your community. Hey, if you're the newest entrepreneur, if you have an idea that's food related, that's art related, that's whatever, come apply, present. We're not just like, for a long time it was like, are we a tech, startup type support? And we're like, no, we're all industries. So that's important. I like what Megan was saying too. A lot of times people don't know that they could have a business idea and present, like I think George was talking about, if they just have an idea, but they're fleshing it out and they come and they present, it could actually save them hundreds of thousands of dollars if they present at 1MC, find out it's a bad idea or it's already been done, and then they stop themselves before ever pursuing that, right? That's what we want people to do.
Quick no is a lot better than a long, wrong yes.
Yeah.
Now, countering that, I would say that there's also value in recognizing that you can only be new once, and you have to have a certain amount of development in place in order to activate from the feedback you receive in your presentation. And so balancing like the newness of those things, and it's not like, no, you can't present. It's let's have you attend, feel how presentations are rolling, and let you decide if it's time. And so you can activate those idea machines to present earlier than they think they should without it being too soon for like the business to actually thrive.
Yep. Anybody else want to share 2021 goals or what they're thinking about? Patrick, do you raise your hand? Oh, you can raise it now. Unmute.
Oh, no. Hi, Kinsey. How have you been? I'd say we miss you in the incubator at Colette Pensacola, except, well, we don't have a roof or a building temporarily due to Hurricane Sally. So, we were doing our hybrid meetings, and we were looking at town halls as kind of filler. Casey mentioned already the planning as we transition the organizer roles on our team beginning the first of the year. So I just want to thank you for your time, and kudos to the folks up there in Charleston for their creative solutions of the liquid libation type.
I knew you'd enjoy that.
I really got something started here, didn't I?
Uh-huh. Yep. I knew you would though, so I let you loose.
Hey,
Pensacola is 19th in the U.S. for craft breweries. It's a small town, but boy, we have a lot of pints.
That's awesome. Hey, one of the things for Megan too, we get involved with the schools. College of Charleston has a pitch contest every semester. And so we find that we get some of the kids to come, some of the students to come to the meeting. So that may be one way, Megan, that it can help. And then also the Citadel, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard about. The Citadel, they have a huge class as well every year. And pre-COVID, they were bringing these students all the time. Schools are real funny about that right now, but we're still inviting them. That might be a really good way to get youth there. But I also understand she was talking about young businesses as well.
Right.
I've got to drop off. If anybody is interested in the idea of the hybrid and how we're making that work really well, I really do not like Slack, but I'm glad to jump on Kenzie. But reach out to Kenzie or me. I put my information in the chat, and I'm glad to help you with that, get that set up.
Thanks, John.
The
All right, Deanna, what did you learn? What questions do you have? And did the Southeast help answer some of the things that you have?
Well, I'm definitely excited to go through the resource tool, and I'll follow up with you, Kenzie, afterwards so I can get access since I'm able to log in. But so Asheville is definitely like a unique little bird. And so it's really cool to hear everyone's personalities and how everyone's approaching things. Like right now, Asheville is keeping it, right now we're not having meetings, but we have been a really staple resource provider for the community for 6 years. And so when we do feel it's appropriate, knowing when our community will engage, we'll resume. We do believe that we'll have the same level of support, if not more, from the community at that time. And like just a little shout out for Asheville. Yeah, I see that, Jonathan. You know, we had over 150 people at our 5-year anniversary celebration, and we have hundreds of founders in really close relationships. So we've been working with everyone kind of in the sidelines, just seeing like what people will commit to, because there are a lot of Zoom calls right now. And so we don't want to burn people out with something that's supposed to fuel them. But I really have appreciated everyone, and I should say, I've appreciated everyone's perspectives and thoughts on everything. And so in 2021, we look forward to getting back to a physical, and I like the idea of hybrid as well. So Melody and I will probably reach out to you at some point, John. Oh, he's already dropped off. Yeah. But yeah, so I'm going to follow up with you, Kenzie, and we can kind of go through the resource together. And I'll also sign up for the new organizers orientation, just because, you know, that makes sense. Make sure that everything is consistent, because consistency is key.
Yeah.
And it's really nice to meet everyone.
Thanks for sharing. That was powerful. That was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to call Shigrela. I'm going to call on you because we talked last week. I don't know what date it is. Yeah, last week. So what's your goal for Augusta in 2021?
Hi, everyone. So my goal for 2021 in Augusta would be pretty much to make sure that we reintroduce ourselves to the community, because we've kind of been on like a little hiatus. We're just coming back virtual tomorrow. And so since February, end of February, beginning of March, we've kind of been, you know, just doing the things that we do, trying to stay safe in this good old pandemic. But I definitely want to reintroduce ourselves to the community. I definitely want the committee to become more diverse so that the community can see that we are a diverse entity, and that they are welcome. And of course, do hybrid. I actually prefer to do hybrid because we had a location that we do 1 million cups. And so I definitely think it would be better to be hybrid so that we can actually meet the presenters. They can see what we're about. They can see the space. They can see who we actually are. We can talk to them. Because like Mackenzie, you were saying earlier, you know, when your camera's off, when someone's on a camera, you can't really see too much. You only see like the upper body, but you really, you know, we don't really get to see too much. So being able to be there with those people will actually be great. So I think that's it.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, when Ben and I met in person for the first time, we were like, I didn't think you were that tall. That's one of those things of the heads don't communicate the height. Cool. We have about 2 minutes left. And so, yeah, my goal is just to keep the Southeast connected, keep us fueled, get us to core. So if you're struggling on a core aspect, you know, reach out to your fellow Southeast organizers, reach out to the people on Slack. And I know people, they're like hate or love Slack, but it is this amazing resource. You get answers pretty quickly too when you drop in there. And it's something just to connect with people. You've got this entire, we'll say network of organizers across the country struggling the same as you, asking the same questions. I get 20 of the same questions daily, believe it or not. So no, you're not alone. Thanks, Benovator. So if anyone else wants to share their goals or chat, I'll stick on for at least 10 more minutes if you want to hang out. And if anyone wants a group photo, you can take your video on now that we're done, and I'll take a group photo.
You know, I just showed up so I could be included with this.
I do.
Hey, Kenzie.
Hey.
We all have to move closer so we can all fit in the picture.
Hey, as the TV producer would say, make sure you're staring down the pipe.
Tyler, you had video capabilities the whole time. Okay, I see you. Hey, Brian. All right, I'll take a photo of 1MC. If you want to hold up the ones, I'll get it ready here. All right, and I'll count down to 3, or count up. Oh, more videos. All right, 1, 2, 3. Awesome, awesome. Got it.
They know 1MC Southeast is a boss on Twitter.
Yes.
So Kenzie, I have a question. You're gonna stick around for 10 minutes?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, good. I will too. Great.
Cool. Thank you all
Hey,
for
I gotta
on.
go. Thanks.
Thanks, y'all.
Could you share that photo with us?
Yes, Eric, I'll share it.
Can we
Great,
have
thank you.
Can we what? Oh, I thought
Hey,
someone was
Cindy,
talking.
Cindy, could you stick around because it has to do with both of our regions?
But can I add a goal that we have a virtual, or we don't have to have virtual this year, we can get back together for our summit?
Oh, I don't make those calls. Ben and I would love that though, believe me.
Yeah,
So
we'll make it official right here and now.
It was just not the same.
Oh, I know. Of course we all want to be together. That's the best time of the year, silly.
Yeah. It is.